Tonight, payday, a wage rise for 2.5 million workers, but there's a warning on inflation.
A mother viciously bashed in a random home invasion in Perth south.
Toxic fume fears for the northern suburbs as a fierce rubbish fire rages.
Tracking you while you shop. Major retailers using secret surveillance.
The hidden gem is set to be revived in the city.
And exclusive, Nick Nat reveals his comeback plan.
Live from Perth, 7 News with Rick Arden and Susanna Carr.
Good evening and welcome to 7 News. Millions of Australians will receive a pay rise of $40 a week after a landmark decision to boost the minimum wage. Workers will take home at least $812.60 a week.
Or $21.38 an hour. The 5.2% increase exceeds inflation, currently at 5.1%. It'll be the largest wage increase workers have seen in more than a decade.
The minimum wage gets a maximum increase. Good news for workers like Jack Shortino.
I mean, that's terrific. Cost of living is just going up.
But one person's wage rise is another person's wages bill rise.
I don't really know what I have to do.
Barber Ben Zolfagari says his business will take a big haircut. His prices will have to rise, or else...
If I have to close it, that's what I have to do.
The Fair Work Commission's decision for the 200,000 workers on the minimum wage, $40 a week, a 5.2% increase to $21.38 an hour. And for the 2.5 million on awards pegged to it, $40 a week for those on up to $869.60. Above that, a 4.6% rise.
This level of increase will protect the real value of the wages of the lowest paid workers.
For the government, a political victory. Its submission sought a rise above inflation, currently 5.1%. Or, as the now Prime Minister put it during Seven's leaders' debate,
$1.
And again today.
Just $1.
The result, $1.05 an hour. Those low-paid workers, he says, the heroes of the pandemic.
These workers deserve more than our thanks. They deserve a pay rise, and today they've got it.
People will be seeing in their bank accounts what the change of government means.
For most, the increase will be paid from July 1, but delayed for hospitality, tourism and aviation workers until October 1.
There are sectors of the economy which are still struggling to come out of the pandemic.
After a decade of real wage cuts, it's by far the largest increase. The unions had wanted 5.5%, business 3%.
The union movement is really happy with this outcome.
This represents a very significant risk to the economy.
Business says it will add $7.9 billion a year to its wages bill, fueling higher inflation and tighter profit margins.
It could mean that some businesses will have to face the difficult decision to close their doors.
A real increase in the minimum wage, but the fear, with inflation tipped to skyrocket, the wages claims follow, setting off a dangerous feedback loop. Prices and pay chasing each other higher and higher.
I worry that it is going to be tough under Labor over the course of the next 3 years.
The Reserve Bank has warned a wages price spiral could embed high inflation for years. And then Anthony Albanese will really need all the protection he can get. Mark Riley, 7 News.
Inflation could hit 7% by Christmas, a level Australia hasn't felt in 32 years. And as inflation goes up, those pulling the economic levers warned so will interest rates and the cost of living.
Reserve Bank governors only speak publicly when they have something significant to say.
We'll do what's necessary to get inflation back to 2 to 3%.
A warning shot across the Australian mortgage belt. Interest rates will spike. How much?
And it's unclear at the moment how far interest rates will need to go up to get that.
With petrol, power, groceries all surging, the bank last month predicted inflation would lift from 5.1 to 5.9% by year's end. It's worse.
Inflation's too high. By the end of the year, I expect inflation to get to 7%.
The rare public comments caused instant reaction. Banks predicting hard, fast rate rises. Goldman Sachs was expecting a 0.25% hike in August and again in September. Now it's predicting a 0.5% jump each time, while Deutsche Bank goes even further, saying 0.5% in July and a heightened risk of 0.75% in August.
For mortgage holders, it's a cruel irony. The RBA is effectively increasing the cost of living to
try and bring down the costs of living. But Dr. Lowe says he's extremely confident that these measures and improving global factors will see inflation fall. When?
By the first quarter of next year.
With warnings that a 7% inflation rise was an average, many goods would go far higher, especially essentials.
So you can't shield yourself from those price increases, and therefore the hit to the household budget is immediate and difficult to work around.
The supermarket giants today claiming to be doing their bit to help too. Woolworths putting a price freeze on 200 home brand products.
Making them immune from inflationary pressure means that customers can have some certainty on things that they're going to buy in their shop each and every week.
Coles countering with their own pitch.
We've got to work harder than ever to give value. We've got 1,500 products that year on year are still at the same price.
Consumers will be looking for savings, with the next rate hike expected at the RBA's upcoming July 5 meeting. Chris Reason, 7 News.
A police manhunt is underway tonight for an intruder who broke into a woman's home and beat her, leaving her with horrific facial injuries. Detectives say the attack was random, as most people were driving to work on Monday morning. Now we can show you the face of the man they're looking for.
Stumbling, disoriented, desperate for help. The victim runs out of her house, clutching her face, moments after being attacked where she should have been the safest, her home. Left with serious injuries, facial fractures and trauma that runs much deeper.
An incident of this magnitude, breaking in and assaulting someone is incredibly severe, incredibly serious. Appears to be at a random attack on someone, and that is probably one of the scariest things I've ever experienced.
Detectives say a man broke into the Atwell home around 9 yesterday morning. He got in through a locked door. They say he was there to rob the victim. The woman, aged in her 30s, confronted the intruder as he ransacked her home. Then he turned his attention from her belongings to silencing her. She was punched multiple times in the face, left dazed and bleeding as the offender made a run for it. This is the man detectives say they're hunting, a snippet of his face caught on camera. This attack is so severe, it's even shocked detectives. They've now made it their mission to solve this crime, but they need your help. Detectives say the man got away with several items, perhaps none more valuable than the woman's sense of safety.
Obviously she's a bit groggy, she's feeling not the best at the moment, but we've been in constant contact with her and her partner, and she's doing as best as she can.
Emily Baker, 7 News.
A young girl has been hit by a car outside her primary school in Canning Vale. It happened just before 3 this afternoon during school pickup. Security cameras captured the frantic moments after the collision. Let's go live to Cassidy Mosconi at Perth Children's Hospital. Cassidy, how is that young girl this evening?
So we're being told she's in a stable condition and her injuries are serious, but thankfully they're not life-threatening. We know it happened around school pickup time on the same road as Caledania Primary School. We know the 9-year-old was with her mum when she was struck. It's not yet clear what caused the crash, but early indications from police suggest there wasn't much the driver could do to avoid the collision.
A lot of honking and banging, people shouting. Probably this incident, if it goes on air, will help others drivers to be safe around the school zone.
It's still early stages in the investigation, Rick, but we're told that the driver involved is speaking with police.
Thanks, Cass. An out-of-control rubbish fire has sent plumes of potentially toxic smoke towards homes in Neerabup. Nearby residents say explosions shook their homes. They've been warned the blaze could smoulder for days.
Thick smoke fills the sky, flames tear through tons of tyres and metal. Explosions rocked nearby streets as a hazmat warning was issued.
Suddenly, the house just shook. I just heard a big bang and then just saw all the black smoke. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was thunder at the start.
The rubbish fire broke out just after midday.
Tyres, hundreds of tyres. We've got 5 excavators in there and the crushing plant as well.
It sparked panic and a massive emergency services response. 50 crews were called in to help.
Started through machinery operating and breaking parts down, going onto a conveyor belt. There's lots of flammable material within there.
Workers from surrounding businesses were evacuated and asked to close for the rest of the day. An excavator was destroyed, but fortunately no one was injured. Crews are working to contain the blaze and bring it under control, but say they'll remain on site tonight as it could burn well into the early hours of the morning.
We're asking the public to just be aware of the smoke. It's relatively high in the air, but close windows and monitor their air conditioners if they're in that line of smoke.
The warning's still current and the rubbish still smouldering. Letitia Wallace, 7 News.
The local share market lost more ground today, but only a little, down almost 1.3%. That makes it a plunge of 7% in the past 5 days. Now the downturn is hurting superannuation returns.
After shaving off more than $82 billion yesterday, today some red and green. The ASX 200 finishing down 1.27% at 6,601 points. Christmas colours, but no cause for celebration yet.
There's probably more to come. I believe we're halfway through the current bear market.
Rising inflation and interest rates are hurting share markets, dampening enthusiasm to invest in companies and buy their products and services.
Then investors will start to get confident again. I'm seeing that happening sometime in the next 6 to 9 months.
For the 11 months from July 1 to May 31, the median balance super fund fell 0.3%. But the recent slump puts it on track to finish the financial year on June 30, down 4 to 5%.
If we are down by 4 or 5%, that's offset against the previous return of 18%.
Super experts recommend checking you're comfortable with how much risk you're taking with your retirement savings.
Your super's focused on the long term. If you're not sure, it's probably best to talk to your fund or to your advisor.
All eyes are now on the US central bank, the Federal Reserve, which will announce its latest interest rate decision tonight. With inflation in the US running at 8.6% and the unemployment rate at 3.6%, the fear is that the Fed will hike interest rates too far and too fast, triggering a recession there, dealing a big blow to economic growth around the world, and crucially, here in Australia. Gemma Acton, 7 News.
The rules around mask wearing are changing again. From Saturday, they no longer have to be worn at WA airports. The mandate has been removed on the back of relaxed national advice, but travellers still need to have their faces covered when they're on planes. It's the same when they're at hospitals and on public transport. The Premier says WA has passed its COVID peak.
The final hurdle for the takeover of Crown has been approved. Let's go live to Jeff Parry in Burswood. And Jeff, what happens now the resort and the casino in Perth?
Well, we won't see any immediate changes, Sue. First, those funds have to change hands. Crown's new owner, Blackstone, will pay shareholders $8.9 billion. That transfer will happen on Friday next week. The biggest recipient of cash, James Packer, with over $3 billion set to hit his bank account. And then the new chairman of Crown Perth, Crown Melbourne and the yet-to-be-completed Crown Sydney will take up their roles. 7 News can confirm after much speculation that John van der Wielen will be the new chairman of Perth Crown here in Perth, and he'll be overseeing a new board that won't include some of those old faces like businessman John Poynton. Mr Whelan will also be very soon meeting with the executives of Blackstone, who are arriving in Perth to inspect their new purchase and to plan the future of Crown. Rick?
Thanks, Jeff. WA footy great Nicky Winmar says it's about time he's a member of the Hall of Fame. One of the game's most iconic figures helped fight racism. He's one of 9 champions honoured last night.
For Nicky Winmar, recognition long overdue.
About time.
Tony Lockett rarely speaks publicly, but raved about his mercurial mate.
Winmar looks for Lockett. Yes!
He could do everything. I mean, he was just a pleasure to watch and he was a pleasure to play with.
I could have kicked the goals myself, you know.
His response to racist fans changed footy forever.
25, 30 years on, you know, I think we're a lot better game for what he did that day.
We will always have the racism side for the rest of our lives, unfortunately, but we're going to still stand there and always say that we are proud of who we are and what we've done.
WA's football royalty featured heavily on the night, along with Winmar, Matthew Pavlich, Mike Fitzpatrick and Ted Tyson were all inducted. South Australian icon Russell Ebert elevated to legend, while waffle legend Bill Dempsey was also honoured for an outstanding career.
To think I'm sitting here tonight, you know, who would have thought it? Not me. I'm just so thankful. I mean, I went and bought a lotto ticket, but it didn't win.
This is probably better, isn't it?
I don't know. It's a bit embarrassing being up here. I'll give you the tip, yeah.
I feel like we could do this all night.
No, I don't want to.
Okay.
It's been a long journey, so being a part of this, it was it's like the finishing touch.
Nick McCallum, 7 News.
A new vision has been unveiled aiming to transform an ageing part of Perth's CBD back to its former glory. A property mogul wants to revive a derelict former movie cinema into a thriving arts and culture hub to bring people back to the malls.
Perth, 1954. The Queen paid a visit.
The Queen and her husband acknowledged the cheers of the crowd.
And going to the pictures was all the rage. The Liberty Theatre swung open its doors. Hundreds would line Barrack Street in the city to see the latest flick.
So this was a movie theatre from 1954 to 1997.
Since then, the cinema has sat derelict. Now it's central to a new plan to revitalise Perth's CBD.
The whole idea of this would be the central hub of my vision.
A $160 million vision to transform the vacant top floor between Hay and Murray Street malls. Property mogul Randall Hummich bought the entire level, with plans for an office tower, rehearsal spaces and galleries for artists to activate the city.
All I have to do is go down on the mall, tap 1 in 10 people on the shoulder and say, hey, we're here and this is what we do. So it's about getting that connectivity between the arts and culture and their audience.
Businesses below are desperate for anything to increase foot traffic.
Since coronavirus hit, it's really hard, to get people in the city, and we don't know how.
We need restaurants down the malls. We need people flowing out on the street out of restaurants. We need anything that brings people to the city.
After being enjoyed for decades, there's hope Perth's younger generations will bring Liberty Theatre back to life, with plans for music students to practice in this space, which could double as free public performances.
Lunchtime concerts, they're talking about anything from jazz to opera and everything in between.
The bold vision will be considered in August, which could see the 1950s buzz return as early as 2023. Jacqueline Robson, 7 News.
Anna Hay joins us now with an early look at the weather.
And the rain held off for most of the day.
It did, Sue. We even had the occasional sunny break before some patchy showers swept across the metro area this afternoon. We dipped down to 13 degrees this morning and climbed to 21.5 just before 2 this afternoon, which is slightly above the average for this time of year. There were similar conditions right across our suburbs today. Top temperatures range from 17 to 22 degrees. Kalamunda was our coldest overnight with a low of just 10. A weak cold front is expected to move over the southwest of the state this evening, and that's what's giving us these very drizzly conditions. We are expecting another stronger cold front later in the week. I'll tell you when it's likely to hit after sport. Rick and Sue.
Thanks, Anna. The Force has a new high-tech tactic in its arsenal.
Next, how it's helping officers on the front line. Crime fighting live streamed inside the command post, making split-second decisions.
Civilians surrounded. Russia tightens its grip on a ruined city.
Out of his mind, Donald Trump's attorney turns on the former president.
Speaking out, Amber Heard doubles down on her abuse claims against Johnny Depp.
And later, the booming business trend that's helping women balance family life. A teenager has admitted taking a knife to school and using it to threaten a classmate at Gilmore College after the student took his umbrella. The boy was referred to a juvenile justice team for counselling.
Frontline police will soon start to live stream some of the most intense jobs they're called to. It won't be for the public to see, though. The vision will be beamed back to senior officers to help make split-second decisions as situations escalate.
When police burst into this Carnarvon home, they didn't know what they would find.
We're going to take you to see your mummy and daddy, okay?
Other jobs are a different kind of surprise. Riots in Kalgoorlie, guns pulled in Esperance.
Put it down! Get out! Put it down! Get out! Put it down!
Now, senior police will have a front row seat at a safe distance. New body-worn cameras will live stream what's happening on the ground back to Police HQ.
The command will be able to get a much clearer picture of what's happening and potentially respond to emerging threats or challenges in a more efficient way.
A similar concept was used during the raid on Osama bin Laden's compound. His assassination filmed and live-streamed back to the White House.
It adds another level of supervision and development, and particularly that situational awareness of what police officers are going into.
350 officers in Perth and Northbridge have been fitted with the cameras. When they activate the device, anyone on the other end can tune in. For officers on the ground, these cameras are reassurance that backup is watching. If a situation escalates or becomes dangerous, they will know that help is on its way. Eyes on the ground and a team watching from afar. Amber Johnston, 7 News.
Russia is warning Ukrainian forces in a cut-off city to surrender. It's believed some 500 civilians are trapped alongside soldiers in a chemical factory in the eastern city of Severodonetsk. Like Mariupol before it, much of this city is in ruins. It's in the crucial Donbass region where Putin has refocused his troops. Bridges in and out of Severodonetsk have been destroyed.
Donald Trump's lawyers were still actively working to overturn his election loss in the hours after a violent mob stormed the Capitol. A former White House lawyer expressed shock at receiving a phone call from a Trump attorney the very next day.
I said to him, "Are you out of your effing mind?" Right? I said, I only want to hear 2 words coming out of your mouth from now on. Orderly transition.
The testimony was released by the committee investigating the deadly riot.
Actress Amber Heard claims important pieces of evidence were left out of her defamation battle with ex-Johnny Depp. In her first interview since losing the case, she spoke of the social media campaign against her, which has been reignited.
Doubling down on abuse claims dismissed by a jury.
To my dying day, will stand by every word of my testimony.
Amber Heard sat down to have the last word.
This was the most humiliating and horrible thing I've ever been through.
Her allegations of domestic violence in a 2018 opinion piece ended with a $15 million ruling against her. Throughout the 6-week trial, Depp fans crowded the court and threw their support behind him on social media.
And the jury is not immune to that.
You think the jury saw it?
How could they not?
Describing her view from the witness stand.
Just a courtroom packed, full of Captain Jack Sparrow fans.
Holding her feet to the fire, the breakfast host reminded Heard of audio played to jurors admitting she instigated some of the fights.
When you're living in violence and it becomes normal, you have to adapt.
Oh, you got this going? You got this going? Oh, really?
In the closing arguments, the Depp lawyer called your testimony the performance of a lifetime and said you were acting. What do you say to that?
Says the lawyer for the man who convinced the world he had scissors for fingers. I'm the performer.
Insisting she only ever told the truth.
And that's all I spoke. And I spoke it to power, and I paid the price.
In the United States, Ashley Mullaney, 7 News.
Instagram is changing to help parents keep their kids safe online.
Coming up, the new features for added supervision. Plus, creepy or creative, the big name shops in hot water for using facial recognition without you knowing.
The sound of hope, how human bile could save the hearing of sick kids. The story you'll only see on 7 News.
Meet the mums doing it all, taking on the business world from home.
And why the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge are leaving London and moving to the country for good. That's next.
Win a trip to London. Win a trip to Rome. And say hello holiday. You could win the ultimate Europe trip for two, flying direct with Qantas, plus accommodation. Get your unique daily code in the West Australian tomorrow, and you could be saying hello holiday thanks to Qantas, Qantas Hotels and the West Australian.
Three of Australia's major retailers are under fire after it was revealed they're using facial recognition technology in their stores. As Evan Batten explains, the majority of us weren't even aware it was happening.
Walking into your local Bunnings or Kmart today, every customer was being watched more closely than ever before.
Mate, look at my face if they want, pretty ugly.
While some see the lighter side of facial recognition technology, others say it's enough to make them stay away.
Well, I don't think it's a good idea. That's invasion of privacy.
After a tip-off, Choice started asking questions and the retailers, including the good guys, owned up.
We got a tip-off from a Choice member about Kmart, and that made us go and look a bit more deeply.
They say it's only to keep the staff and customers safe and identify shoplifters who might come back.
That major retail chains are routinely collecting facial data of customers should send a chill down the spine of anyone that cares about their personal privacy.
While Kmart says it only keeps the data for 30 days, Choice fears retailers could start selling off the information.
They're all concerned that there could be future uses for profiling or marketing.
Choice is ultimately calling for a wide-ranging investigation by the Information Commissioner. Other groups say this sort of use of technology should just stop until proper legal protections are put in place.
So we're calling on the new government to take some meaningful action to ensure that these technologies aren't rolled out without due protections.
Though not everyone sees the serious side.
It's the new reality, so it's all good.
Evan Batten, 7 News.
New opposition leader Peter Dutton has declared his first shadow cabinet meeting will be held in Perth, the start of a 3-year battle to win back the West.
So I wanted to come and listen to understand what happened and to rebuild, and that's exactly what we start doing today, to put ourselves in a very competitive position.
The coalition lost 5 WA seats to Labor and independent Kate Cheney.
The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge are said to be leaving London for greener pastures. William and Kate are reportedly preparing to move closer to the Queen as she ages, as the future king went to the races.
A royal day out at Royal Ascot. Charles and Camilla led the pack as the English sunshine beamed down. This is usually one of the Queen's favourite events, but many of Her Majesty's horses will race later in the week. A more sombre affair for William and Kate, remembering the victims of the Grenfell Tower fire 5 years after the tragedy. As reports emerge, they're preparing to leave London and relocate their young family to the Windsor estate, a cottage not far from the Queen and her castle, with no need for staff or renovations, closer to Kate's parents in rural Berkshire. The Duke and Duchess have lived in central London here at Kensington Palace for the last 5 years. Their children attend local schools, but all that will change with a move to Windsor, closer to William's old school, Eton. They'll move ahead of the start of the British school year in September. In London, Hugh Whitfield, 7 News.
Flooding has torn through Yellowstone National Park in the United States, sweeping this house more than 5 kilometres downstream. The floods also washed away bridges and roads. More than 10,000 people have been evacuated and remarkably no one has been injured.
Permanent hearing loss is one of the most common side effects for children undergoing chemotherapy. Until now, there's been no cure or prevention. But as Jordan Cuths reports, a cutting-edge gel created in a Perth laboratory is hoping to change that.
Most people don't associate hearing loss with chemotherapy. Chloe Clements was one of them, left partially deaf.
When I was 13 years old, I was diagnosed with a stage 4 anaplastic medulloblastoma. Big name.
The drugs destroy cancer cells, but can also kill other healthy tissues, like in the inner ear.
Because of the loss of my hearing, I also have slurred speech.
For children, half end up with some hearing loss. What's been created and tested in this Perth laboratory could change that one day. A gel made of human bile that's injected deep into the ear.
It glues itself in and it sits just there and releases the nanogel over time.
It's cutting-edge research, a partnership between Curtin University and the Ear Science Institute, helped by a Telethon Trust grant.
Ideally, we'll have it there for a long time, but what we anticipate it to be injected within, I would say, monthly for maybe 3 to 6 months.
Currently, there's no prevention, no cure, no way to reverse it. The focus has been on treatment, like cochlear implants and hearing aids. So this research is a change of tack.
The possibility that here in Perth, Western Australia, we can change the lives of people right around the world.
Offering the sound of hope where until now there's been silence.
It's going to be life-changing for a lot of children.
Jordan Katz, 7 News.
Time now for a check of the markets. Here's Network Finance Editor Gemma Acton.
Thanks, Rick. No hoped for recovery for Aussie shares today. The ASX 200 dropping another 85 points to close at 6,601. Losses were spread right across the index, with Afterpay owner Block once again one of the poorest performers. The Aussie dollar slipped under 69 US cents overnight, but has since made a modest recovery, while gold has narrowly avoided dropping below 1,800 US dollars, for now at least. And Australia's rental crisis worsened last month as the vacancy rate fell again. That looks at the number of rental properties that are actually available. Adelaide has the fewest residential vacancies and Melbourne the most. Sue.
Thanks, Gemma. And still to come, no audition needed.
The Perth Theatre Group with an open door policy. How it's helping people from all walks of life and all acting abilities come together.
Parental controls, how a social media giant is handing parents more power over their child's account.
Also, the women finding the right formula for a work-life balance.
And coming up in sport, a blow for a speedy Docker sidelined with a bad back. And Nick Natanui's return isn't far away. Hear from the Eagles star in 10 minutes.
Beating meat price hikes. Our consumer investigation reveals how to find the best quality and price. Start with Sunrise tomorrow.
Now to our campaign that rewards the people who make our suburbs a better place. 7 News wants you to nominate and honour local champions. Tonight, the community theatre group that's about more than just acting.
Being on stage isn't for everyone, but for some, it's where they feel most comfortable.
Joan was really created for people to just have fun, much like a football club or a cricket club or something like that. You know, we just do theatre instead of playing a sport.
And there's no audition required. It's open to everyone.
It's great to see people that have started coming in here not being able to even get up on stage, and by the end of it, they're sort of singing in a musical.
Aside from building confidence, it's also a place to build connections.
People are looking for something, you know, and to fill a void in whatever stage of life they're in.
To have something like Jome is just something so rare and so special that more people should do.
Jome is based here at the Jones Way Theatre on William Street. While this space has been purpose-built just for them, the dream is for other small productions to take to the stage so the venue can be used to its full potential.
The concept is that in Perth in particular, there's no small venues for small groups like we are to be able to put on performances.
Right now, the stage is being transformed into Neverland, ahead of Jome's adaptation of Peter Pan.
And then, Sarah, you're going to come in, right?
If you or someone you know is making a difference in the community, like Chris at Jome, we want to hear about it. 7 News, supported by REC Insurance, have set up 8 categories for Perth's local champions. Head to 7news.com.au/local champions for all the details. Creating a safe space for people to shine. Gemma Varoni, 7 News.
An aborted rail communications contract with Chinese telco Huawei will cost WA taxpayers $6.6 million. Details of the settlement have been revealed in State Parliament. Transport Minister Rita Saffioti blaming a trade dispute between the US and China. Huawei was controversially awarded the contract in 2018, despite the federal government raising security concerns. It was abandoned 2 years later.
Parents who fear Instagram as a bad influence can now have greater control over their kids' accounts. New parental controls allow them to monitor usage and set time limits. There's also a hub providing access to mental health services. Both the parent and the child have to agree to the controls before they're activated. Juggling work and family life is a constant struggle. A growing number of so-called mumpreneurs are taking control, doing big business at home. How you can do the same. Don't miss that story soon on 7 News.
But first, Ryan's here with sport and bad news for a Dockers forward, Ryan.
Yeah, that's right, Sue. Rick, Sam Switkowski, he gets underestimated by a few people, but not Fremantle. They know he's crucial to everything they do. The speedster will miss time with a bad back. Details next. Plus, Nick Nat's plan, how the Eagles' big man is tracking for a return. And second time lucky, the Wildcats recruit Corey Webster again.
Now, Fuel Watch. Perth's petrol prices brought to you by Fuel Watch and 7 News.
Nick Natanui's closing in on a return to football after missing the last 8 weeks with a knee injury. Like many of his Eagles teammates, the star ruckman could be set for a return through the WAFL. Here's Rory Campbell.
Launching, propping, then sizing up a target yesterday. Today, Nick Natanui's left knee was the support point as he flung a rugby league ball. A return to the big time is nearing.
No real time frame. We'll sort of just see how I progress over the next couple of weeks as I transition into main drills.
The club says 2 to 3 weeks. The difference might be if the ruckman comes back through the waffle. A very real possibility with several Star Eagles due back from injury in coming games.
I think having too many guys on managed minutes, we've got a lot of guys coming back into the AFL squad in the next few weeks. So whether I can come straight in or go to the waffle, I'm not really fussed.
The star big man with plenty to think about, pending fatherhood, even his footy future.
Nah, I'm out of contract, but yeah, we'll sit down and talk about it pretty soon, yeah.
A more pressing issue, supporting New South Wales in Game 2 of State of Origin at Optus Stadium on Sunday week and getting one up over teammate Luke Shuey.
As soon as he chucked on the maroon jumper, I thought, why not chuck the blues on?
Is this really just a chance to get under Nick's skin?
It's more that than actually being a Queensland fan myself, so yeah, hoping we get up next week.
The Eagles a better chance of getting up themselves this weekend. Patrick Dangerfield's calf injury means Geelong won't bring him to Perth. Fremantle has the bye, but it won't do Sam Switkowski any favours. He's out indefinitely with stress fractures in his back. The club says it's impossible to predict how long recovery will take. A similar injury put him out for 9 weeks in 2020. Max Gawn looking at less than that for his ankle problem, but he's still facing up to 5 weeks out. His D's teammates Stephen May and Jake Melksham won't face any action from the AFL for their fight at a Melbourne restaurant. Rory Campbell, 7 News.
The Aussies were too good for Sri Lanka in the first one-dayer. David Warner has still got it, even at 36.
Oh, that's unbelievable. What a catch that is by David Warner.
Ashton Agar couldn't believe his eyes. Pat Cummins went wicketless on his return from a hip injury in the ODI series opener against Sri Lanka. Chasing 282, Glenn Maxwell kept his cool, hammering an unbeaten 80 off 51 balls to get the Aussies home by 2 wickets. Greg Norman's Live Tour continues to dominate discussion ahead of the US Open.
I'm tired of the conversations. I'm tired of all this stuff. Y'all, like I said, y'all are throwing a black cloud on the US Open. I think that sucks.
I'm far from the smartest person in the room, and I'm not a politician. I'm here to follow a white golf ball around.
The US Open begins tomorrow night. Serena Williams is returning to tennis at the age of 40. The 23-time Grand Slam winner revealed she'll chase an 8th Wimbledon crown. Williams hasn't played since withdrawing from Wimbledon last year with a leg injury. Nick Kyrgios is through to the second round of the lead-up event in Germany, where he'll take on world number 6 Stefanos Tsitsipas. The Wildcats have signed 3-time NBL champion Corey Webster for next season. It isn't the first time the Cats have flirted with Webster. The shooting guard first signed with Perth in 2017, only to walk out on the deal months later without playing a game to pursue overseas options. Chris Waller's nature strip has enhanced his standing as the world's best sprinter. With royalty watching at Royal Ascot, James McDonald piloted the Everest winner to victory in the Group 1 King's Stand Stakes, but unfortunately the caller botched his name.
Nature Stripe leading to Acklam Express in second place. Twilight Calls coming home in third position, but it is the great Australian sprinter, Nature Stripe and James McDonald, and look how far they've won by.
They'll remember his name now. It's the first Aussie winner at Royal Ascot since Black Caviar in 2012. Real WA flavour to tonight's Front Bar episode. 2 Peters, Sumich and Bazasto. Sue and Rick, plenty of laughs, I'm sure. That's
Thanks,
at 9
Ryan.
o'clock.
2 more good West Aussie boys, thank you. Mogul mums who had put careers on hold are now creating empires from home.
The booming businesses are being born out of a need to balance work and family life.
What started in a garage is now big business. Girls' sportswear label Impy recently moving to a new headquarters as orders boom.
So the first year was pretty slow, but then by the second year we'd actually doubled sales. And then this year again, we've doubled sales again.
It started 3 years ago when Kim's young daughters began running. There was no age-appropriate activewear. She saw it as an opportunity to develop a clothing line while being more available for her kids.
You just want flexibility. So if you need to be at a sports event or you need to pick your kids up from school because they're sick, you've got that flexibility.
It's the same reason podcast producer Brianna Ansoldo launched her own business 7 years ago. After a successful singing career, she wanted a job better suited to having a young baby.
I wanted to be flexible in my work, and I wanted to be able to be there for all the moments that a little kid goes through.
Initially starting work from home on US podcasts, she was ahead of the pack in Australia.
Now we're about 60 clients globally that we work with. A lot of them are Australian and a lot of them are small businesses.
There are an estimated 330,000 mumpreneurs in Australia, and that number is expected to grow as women strive for a better work-life balance.
Always having that end goal in mind, will this be flexible for me? Because there's a lot of jobs that aren't.
The top 5 business ideas for working from home include creating your own product like jewellery or clothing, becoming a blogger or freelance writer, selling a digital product like graphic design, becoming a virtual assistant, reviewing products online. The building blocks for a budding empire. Samantha Heathwood, 7 News.
Anna Hayes got your Wednesday night weather next. And Anna, will we have a break from the rain tomorrow?
We should, Rick. There's only a very slight chance of showers for the metro area, but enjoy it while it lasts because we are in for a drenching on Friday and Saturday. I'll tell you how much rain to expect after the break. Hello again. Well, we had a fairly overcast day with the occasional sunny break before some scattered showers swept across the suburbs this afternoon. We reached a low of 13 degrees this morning and climbed to 21.5 just before 2 this afternoon. Right now it's 16 degrees in the city and the winds are light. So a weak cold front is expected to move over the southwest of the state this evening. We did see some prefrontal showers in the city from around 3 this afternoon, while a cloud band sitting over the Gascoyne is expected to bring some decent falls to the region over the next few days. Taking a look at the rest of the country now, a mostly sunny day in Brisbane and Sydney tomorrow. Showers in Melbourne, a top of 15 degrees, a shower or 2 in Adelaide and a sunny 33 degrees in Darwin. For WA tomorrow, it'll be sunny in Broome, showers in Carnarvon, a shower or 2 in Kalgoorlie, 21 degrees the top there, showers in Bunbury and and in Busselton. On local waters, northeast to northwesterly winds about 10 knots, increasing to 15 to 20 knots in the morning. Seas around a metre, with the swell peaking at 2.5. So it'll be a partly cloudy day in Perth tomorrow, only a very slight chance of rain. 22 the top, down to 12 tonight. But enjoy the sunshine while it lasts, because the rain rolls back in on Friday. Showers and even a possible storm forecast, 23 degrees the top. It'll be very wet on Saturday too, 19 the max. The rain does ease off slightly on Sunday, and it'll clear further for the start of the working week. Now for tonight's winning lotto numbers for draw 4191. They are 24, 18, 4, 23, 17, 15, the SUPs 3 and 36. Rick and Sue.
Thanks, Anna. And that's 7 News for this Wednesday. We'll have updates later.
Thanks for joining us here at the 7 Newsroom. For the latest stories, head to 7news.com.au. Enjoy the rest of your night here on 7.